pros have really done you a disservice in terms of educating you about myths related to intermittent fasting. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Cynthia Thurlow. I'm super excited to have so many men and women joining us. Now, myth number one is going to be about nutrition not being important in regards to your health and wellness goals. Now, I see a lot of stuff on social media that I know is done by well-meaning individuals, but let's be real. Food is the most important and critical way you can impact your health beneficially. So if anyone is selling to you, if it fits my macros, or that eating a processed diet is somehow beneficial for you, they are lying. The most important change you can make, whether you're doing intermittent fasting or not, is selecting foods that we know are going to be highly beneficial, anti-inflammatory, nutrient dense, and less processed. I want you to think about it this way. If someone is suggesting a standard American diet, or if it fits my macros, or eating a highly processed diet, you need to think about what's in those foods. And so when someone is suggesting a highly processed diet or highly processed foods, they're very likely high in processed sugars and also inflammatory seed oils, which we know are incredibly obesogenic. We know that those particular oils, I'm talking about sunflower, safflower, canola oil, soybean oil, are highly obesogenic, which means these are oils that will make us fat. You don't want to be consuming them. And if you're doing them alongside intermittent fasting, you are likely undoing a lot of the benefits of consuming less food and less often. Number two, I see a lot of fit pros telling people it's okay to consume 50 calories or less while you're fasted. I cry bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when we consume food, our body secretes a hormone called insulin. And if we secrete insulin, we are no longer fasting. So whether or not it's a bunch of grapes, or it is a fatty coffee, or it is electrolytes with sugars in them, or it is supplements, and I'll give you an example, fat-soluble vitamins, although very beneficial, will break your fast. Things like vitamin D, vitamin K, branched chain amino acids. I see a lot of people doing pre-workout mixes and doing, electrolytes, and they think it's completely benign. And when I really encourage them to read labels and to really educate themselves on what's actually in their supplements, they're surprised to know they are breaking their fast. And there's actually something called cephalic phase insulin response. And what this is that our body will prepare itself for consuming food even if we smell something. And I don't want you to get paranoid. I get messages all the time about people concerned about toothpaste. And I said, unless you're swallowing your toothpaste, you're gonna be just fine. But if you think it's benign to consume a food that's less than 50 calories, or if you're consuming like a fatty coffee, I know there's a lot of people pushing bulletproof coffees, and those are fine during your feeding windows, but they're not okay when you're fasted. I don't like crutches. I like to be really straightforward and honest with people when I'm working with them. And I'm like, most people come to me because they want to lose weight and they want to use intermittent fasting as a strategy. Why would you consume a coffee that has 200, 250 calories in it if you want to lose weight? That doesn't make any sense to me. Next, let's talk about the concept of mini meals and snacking. I still see a lot of fit pros recommending that people eat mini meals, that are eating every 2 or 3 hours, that they're having lots of snacks, that you need a snack before bed. I cry BS. What are those things doing? Every time you eat, you are secreting insulin. And one of the reasons why we have a very obese culture is that we are eating all day long. The average American is consuming between beverages and food 16 to 17 times a day. That is 16 to 17 times a day you are secreting insulin. And again, insulin is not a bad hormone, but if you're secreting it all day long, it is a fat storage hormone. And I know that's not what you want to be doing. So eating less often and not consuming beverages while you are fasted that are going to evoke an insulin response is really critical. I want to make that very, very clear. Snacking and mini meals are not what adults should be doing, and frankly, neither should kids. One of the huge benefits of intermittent fasting is that you become fat adapted, meaning your body uses ketones as a fuel source as opposed to sugar. You don't want to be a sugar burner. I want you to also think about the fact that I hear a lot of the fit pros talking about how intermittent fasting isn't good for gut health, and we know it's actually the complete opposite. There's actually a recent study that was done that showed 3 hours of extra fasting during the day, especially heading into the evening, like stopping your meals by 6 o'clock at night, reduces your likelihood of developing not only insulin resistance, but type 2 diabetes. Now, I don't know about you, But at 49 years old, I do not want to ever be insulin resistant, and I want to lessen the likelihood I will ever develop diabetes. So eating less often is really critical. Lastly, there's a lot of bad information going around talking about how intermittent fasting is not helpful for women. Again, I cry BS, and I'll tell you why. Used properly, and by this I mean you're not being too restrictive, you're being very mindful if you're still getting your period, how you eat, how you fast around your cycle, or if you're perimenopausal, menopausal, you can absolutely do intermittent fasting, but you have to work with people who know what they're doing, meaning you have to work with someone that's going to teach you how to use intermittent fasting as a strategy, but also being smart about sleep and stress management and underlying food sensitivities and all those things. And so a lot of the work that I do with men and women is really capitalizing on this strategy and using it effectively. But I want you to be educated and recognize a lot of these well-meaning fit pros are not speaking properly about intermittent fasting, and they're not a clinician. So I am a Western medicine trained clinician, and I am incredibly experienced with this strategy. I've been doing it for the last 5 years. I work with some of the leading experts in this space, and we talk frequently about a lot of this misinformation. Have a great night.